Welcome to the Nurses Off Duty Podcast. Please subscribe and share our videos. Thank you.
So, because Addie is a seasoned traveler and I'm not, so I'm going to pretty much interview her about the questions that I have regarding travel nursing, even though I would never go travel nursing. I'll never go traveling, but
never say never.
Not true. Never say never. You're right. But you know how that is. So, my question for you, Addie, because I know you're out there traveling on your umpteen assignment. And I know others would like to know, other nurses or people who are probably trying to get into nursing want to know pretty much what is travel nursing. So if you could explain that a little bit for us.
Well, traveling nursing is basically like it described. You're a nurse that travels out of your home district. Usually it has to be 50 miles or greater than where your primary resident is to be considered as a travel nurse. You can travel locally. You can do it out of state. You can do it internationally, which I think I've done a little bit of all three of those traveling. And we will talk about those. If you guys are interested in any of those, let me know as far as traveling abroad, traveling out of states. We can talk about those. But it's basically you live in your home and you, like, for example, right now I'm in somebody else's home. I'm in an Airbnb where I'm staying. So I will basically talk to you guys about how I started traveling. I started traveling in 2018.
Oh, okay. For that, okay.
2018, I was in the process of deciding what I wanted to do. I had just finishing my graduated from NP school, and I was interviewing a lot of different jobs, and the pay was not what it was supposed to be, and it wasn't right. The incentive for me, especially in Florida, the amount of work that I did to get my degree, and to see this is what they were offered. So I decided, let me see about traveling as a registered nurse instead. Immediately, I think the pay to me was really a factor. Okay. Because if I was gonna stay at the bedside, do I want to stay locally and make that's like half of what I would make if I was gonna travel?
Okay.
At that time, back in 20 when I first started, which was 2018. So my first assignment, I went somewhere. I think I went to Tennessee. That was my first assignment. Okay. And I actually stayed a lot longer. I stayed in that one particular assignment for a year.
Ooh.
Yeah. And that was because, again, I left home. I brought my dog with me. And having my dog with me, I didn't want to stay in a hotel or an Airbnb at that point. So I got an apartment and I stayed there for a little bit.
And so the that assignment that you stayed for 1 year, was that the same assignment or you took another assignment within that time?
I took another assignment in another hospital.
Okay.
Within the same area, with driving distance to where I got the place I was staying.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
No,
so,
so you stayed at the first assignment for 1 year, but you worked two different companies, or with the same company?
Well, it was with the same company. So what happened actually is why I stayed overall in that area for a year, but I worked in two different hospital systems within that time frame, but it was with the same agency. So for those of you who don't know, when you want to travel, it's typically done through a traveling agency. You could do it because actually, if you want to work for another area, you can probably go there as a seasonal. Okay. You could do a seasonal contract with them. It's not, I don't think you're going to get as more like your incentive. For example, you're going to get your stipend. I don't think it comes with a stipend if you do it that way. Okay. But usually a seasonal contract, just like if you do it at home, it pays more than your average contract. Like if you're going to do a PRN assignment within the same hospital system.
Okay. So, but what would you say? Okay. So when you take another assignment with a company, do you negotiate your contract or you do not?
You know I do.
No, but you said you work for the same company on your first assignment. So that's the question. If you negotiated that particular contract with the same company.
Yes. So, but usually, they have, let's say, what they a pay package they're gonna offer you.
Mm-hmm.
So what hospital A may be offering you, hospital B may be offering you a little bit less, a little bit more. It depends of their needs.
Okay.
So the main reason I remember that I went with hospital B at that point was because I was, like I said, it was my first assignment. I was from Florida. And being from Florida, you used to working a lot. In that one particular hospital, it was heavy. I remember it was so heavy that it didn't even occur to me that how heavy it was compared to maybe another. It was just like I was working in Florida at that point, to be honest. Maybe a little less, smidge better, but not by much because it was still in the South. I really don't think that I really appreciated traveling nursing until I got my California license.
Mm.
Because they have what I feel like California's always been the standard in nursing. Even when we studied in school, it will tell you for a long time. California is usually ahead of everybody. Everybody follows California does, but for some reason, not everybody's following with the ratios that California has been implementing for a long time now.
Mm-hmm.
I think you get a sense of, I don't mind working in California. Like a lot of some nurses complain about it. It's heavy, but you can breathe. You know what I mean? So to me, I initially started traveling for two things. I wanted to get to be. Well, let's be honest. I wanted to be paid for what actually the work I was doing,
Mm-hmm.
and have a livelihood. And then secondly, I love to travel, and I wanted to see the world. I wanted to see the country, and traveling nursing has actually given me that opportunity.
Okay.
Um, but that was the first assignment, and you initially, like I did, I got an apartment, but normally you don't get an apartment because I signed a lease. You can sign a lease and break the lease. So but I stayed. But you could have also, you could do, these days is much better. You can do Airbnb. You could look for a housing in rent finders. You can find so many other ways to find accommodation.
Okay.
And they do pay you a stipend for your accommodation based on the location that you're at. Like, for example, California, everybody knows the cost of living for California is higher than the rest of the country. So they typically give you a higher stipend than somewhere like maybe Alabama that may not, cost of living maybe not be so high.
I wanted to know about how do I, like, for me, if I decided to go travel nursing now, and I want to choose an agency,
Mm-hmm.
what would be, I mean, other than the pay, of course, because of course, if one agency pay more than the other, so you would know what I would choose. But other than the pay, what are some of the incentives that would drive you to choose one agency over the other?
Um, a lot of times you have to build that rapport with your recruiter
Mm-hmm.
and be available to me. Um, Also your safety,
Mm-hmm.
which is extremely important.
Yeah.
Like, do you have, if anything, while you're on your assignment, do you have somebody that you can communicate with right away if you're not happy with your assignment, if you're not happy with your, you feel unsafe? That's also important. Like, do they put things in place for you that helps you with housing? Do they help you with making sure that they know your emergency contact? Like, hey, I need this done. It's about flexibility. Do you have some are not as flexible with what you need, and others are? So to me, what's important to me, I can only speak for myself. What's important to me is my safety when I travel is extremely important. And we can talk about how to keep yourself safe while you're traveling.
Yeah.
And of course, we do it because we're not leaving our family and our home and the comfort of our home to make the same as we can make at home. Because I know people glorify traveling nursing right now, but it's a hard life
It is.
because you're away from your family, you're away from your friends, you don't have your comfort, like stuff that you need at home. You don't have that, and it makes you a little homesick. Um, so those things you're doing without it, especially if you have children, because a lot of nurses travel. And I was just with a coworker the other day, and she was like, "Oh my God, it was the first week," and she's like, "I miss my daughter so much. I miss my daughter." I'm like, "It's only been a week." She's like, "I know, but we do so much together,
And,
so it's hard."
and can you ever take your family on an assignment?
Yes. If you have I remember, like, for example, at the height of COVID, and I was advocating for everybody. Like, I'm like, listen, this I don't think in my lifetime is gonna be like this again.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And I said, if you have children and your mom who is semi-retired, or your mom, let's say for example, your mom is a CNA, and we were at that height where we're making those kind of salary. I said, why are you still at home? Especially during the summertime, take your kids. Even if your mom can always find another job once this is over, or a elderly relative, or somebody that can watch your kids for you. Or if you can do the math, and what your husband or your spouse is making is a fraction.
Mm-hmm.
And I know there was a nurse, actually, a white nurse. Her husband and her kids came.
Okay.
And I remember, like, when I was abroad, we had there was a couple of them who brought their entire family. I had one of my coworker who flew his dog to the island.
Oh.
When we're there, because he wanted his family there, so he moved his entire family, his wife, his kids, to the island. And to me, I was like, this is such a great opportunity to expose your children to another culture.
Mm-hmm. Let me ask you a question, because my concern would be taking an assignment and going to a part of America that's very dangerous. You know what I mean? So my question to you is, how do you know that the area that they're sending you to is relatively safe? Do you do some research before you take the assignment? And if you go there and it's dangerous, what's your next step?
If you don't feel safe in any environment, on any assignment, you can say, I don't feel safe here, and you leave.
Okay.
Me personally, I don't have any issue quitting a job, ever, even before I was a nurse. If I feel my safety is number one to me. And I just remember, for example, I had an NP assignment that I was doing, and I was in this very small little town in Texas. And mind you, I remember they were saying the cartel is around. The Mexican cartel is around. I never saw one. I never experienced it. I didn't feel unsafe there, but I just remember the town was so small that they didn't even have a hotel. They had a motel. And to me, like, when you're how motels are, like, it's your room and then there's outside. So I didn't particularly feel safe there. So I asked my company, I said, look, I'm willing to drive 45 minutes away to be in a hotel, because I didn't feel safe in that environment, because I'm like, wait a minute, anybody can break this door down anytime and be in my room. So that's what I did. So you always have that choice. And if they said, no, you had to stay here, then guess what? I'm leaving. It wasn't a safe place for me. So, but it's very important that you do your research. Like, I research housing, cost of living, housing, like, demographic, because let's be honest, I'm a Black woman and traveling alone, so I need to know what the demographic look like.
Yeah.
And
you need a diverse area.
Yes. And also, it's important, for example, let's go back to the place where I was, in Texas, where it was very small. My biggest fear, what happened to me that I experienced where I was afraid, was the fog.
Oh.
Imagine I was driving and getting off work, and I got on the highway, and I could not see a thing. I couldn't see behind me. I couldn't see ahead of me, to the side of me. The fog was so thick that I felt like for my safety, because the way the road was made, I was supposed to make a U-turn to go back where I was supposed to go. I ended up driving for like another 10 miles
Oof.
because I'm like, keep going. At least if I'm in the straight line.
Mm-hmm.
And finally, like I was able to make a U-turn. And then, even then, when I made the U-turn, I didn't feel safe. You have to use your common sense, and you have to like put safety over everything. Like I had to go back to work the next day, but I parked my car in the gas station for like 2 hours until the fog got where I felt safe.
All right, let's talk about the skill level though, Addie. Like, because what we've been going through and all this debacle with the nurse license and all of that stuff. I want to talk
Mhm.
about skill level. What type of skill level that are needed to actually go traveling? I mean, especially if you're a novice nurse, just fresh out of school. Do you recommend for a novice nurse to go traveling at all?
No, I think you should give yourself at least the typical requirement is you need a year to 2 years of experience in your specialty
Mm-hmm.
before you start traveling, because once you get there, they're not going to orient you for more than 2 days.
Wow.
So you may have, yes,
And it's
because you're on your own.
just for them to show you where to find stuff.
That's it. You lucky, because I remember like my current assignment,
Mm-hmm.
we had, let's say, we had the hospital orientation,
Mm-hmm.
and that was like, we did that computer training, like, you probably just for one day. The next day we had the hospital orientation we're supposed to be there for 12 hours. The last 4 hours of that morning, we're on the floor with a nurse. So then the next day I come in. So I didn't get 2 full days of orientation. I got a day and a few hours.
So basically, you're saying that your skill level must be on the top tier. If
Whatever your specialty is,
mm-hmm.
you've had to have your skill level at home, because you're coming to basically, when you travel, it's because they have a need.
Mm-hmm.
They need a nurse right now. They don't need a new nurse. They don't need somebody they're gonna
Or
train. They
yeah.
need you to be ready to work,
Mm-hmm.
to hit the floor running. So if your specialty is ICU, you have to be an ICU nurse already at home somewhere. You own your skills, then you're just ready to go. It's not, and if you're, like I said, I work on the floor. I've done med surg, tele, I've done LTAC, I've done PCU. I've never done ICU. That's a specialty for somebody who's interested in certain aspect of nursing that I'm not interested in. But you have to be ready to go. And if you're lucky, they might give you 2 days of, like I said, 2 days of orientation. But that's just an introduction to the facility that you're in. It's not where they're going to teach you how to, to be a nurse.
Okay, but I have a question for you because you're in a special niche, I think, because like Addie said, she's a nurse practitioner. And so I want to dive a little bit into that. You being a nurse practitioner and being a travel RN. I mean, I want to know why is that you're doing, working as a travel RN and not necessarily working under your nurse practitioner license right now?
Mm-hmm.
You want to explain?
Well, I did back in at the beginning of 2020.
Mm-hmm.
I said, okay, I've had it. I want to go back. I want to work as a nurse practitioner. I'm willing to take the pay cut, because I'm like,
Oh,
I want to.
you said it. You just said it. You're willing to take the pay cuts. So basically, you're saying what you're doing now is lucrative.
Like, it pays. I mean, it depends, because I've heard, coming from Florida,
Mm-hmm.
it's, for example, I have a friend right now I just spoke to before this podcast, and she has a job. She's working up. She's a provider, a hospitalist,
Mm-hmm.
and she's like, "This is not life. This is
Oh,
not life, Addie." She's like, and I don't even see the reward for it. She said, I'm working. I don't even have. She said, for example, she said, my cousin just got married. I couldn't even go to her wedding because I had so much charting to do. it's, imagine you're working 9 to 5, you're probably seeing 25 patients, and then when you come home, you think you're done. No, you got to chart on those patients. So, I mean, and she's fairly new in this assignment that she just transitioned to, but she's like, it's a lot. To me, I feel like I would have loved to work full time as a nurse practitioner, but it would have to make sense.
Yes.
And they are very lucrative. To be honest, I feel like I did family. I did family nurse practitioner. I did to get certified. I took both of the certification boards, the AANP and the ANCC. Don't right? It's been a while. So I took both of those certifications because I wanted to be marketable when I was done. So, but I feel like if you're doing psych is lucrative, but you would have to. It's a specialty. Like for example, if you do psych and you didn't do family and you want to do family, you would have to go do family all over.
Okay.
As opposed to where when I did family, if I want to do psych, I can get a certification in psych because I have the foundation of the family, the whole, which is the where you start. You can branch out and do the other nurse practitioner specialties like maybe acute care. Acute care to me, I think is lucrative, but it's another specialty. You're going to be in the hospital again as a hospitalist, and I think it's a little bit more. They're doing well. I think they do well. Psych do extremely well, and other specialties now, aesthetics. They're doing a lot of the girls that are doing Botox, fillers. They are doing very well, and that's something that maybe
you'll get into.
You might want to get into.
Well, I mean, and that's the thing I know about you. You know, you like the flexibility, and that's one thing too, the flexibility and not being tied down. Because a lot of people see nurse practitioner and they actually think nurse practitioner is not doing anything. They have no idea how hard that is and the amount of hours they have to do that. And if we can go traveling and make the same money or more, that's the exact one I'll opt for, you know. But I want to dive deeper now because within travel nurses, something happened the other day, and I want to talk about it when it comes to being a traveler and being safe while you're traveling. You know, since Addie and I are doing this podcast, I think we talk on the phone almost every day now, right, Addie?
Every day.
And so
more than ever.
Yes. And so I'm calling her because I called her when I know, okay, I said, I know she worked last night, so I'm going to call her my time, probably about 6 or 7 or something. So I'm texting this girl and I'm calling this girl, no answer. So I said, okay, maybe she's still asleep. I said, I'll give her another hour. I called. I think it was like in the middle of the night. I think it was either 7 or 8 o'clock when I got home from work. And I'm calling you, Addie. No answer. I'm getting scared now. I'm thinking, okay. I said, I know she's in California. I'm about to call the police. I'm going to call 911 and the sheriff. And I don't know where Addie's assignment is. I don't know who her recruiter was. I don't know what hospital she is. I don't even know what part of California this girl is, but I'm going to call the cops and tell her she's somewhere in California and something is wrong. I wanted to call her sisters a little bit earlier, but her sisters are hypochondriacs. They would have freaked out. So I waited a little bit and I called her oldest sister and I said in the calmest voice that I could muster, I'm like, did you hear from Addie today? She's like, oh, wait a minute. No, I didn't. So she jumped and added social media because, you know, I don't have Instagram or TikTok or anything, so I can't check those things. So she jumped and she's like, wait a minute. She hasn't been active all day. Oh, my God. I start panicking. That was unheard of. That's when I start panicking. I said, okay. I said, I'm going to keep texting. And I said, because I know something is wrong. And you know what got me scared, Addie? It's like, if something had happened to you and you have nobody around you, that's the thing, you know, I'm like, there's no family member around you to give you that love and support if something go wrong. And that thing drove me crazy the whole day. So I want you to tell the folks what happened.
What happened was I have my cell phone basically crashed. I'd worked the night before. I got tired. I was so tired. So when I woke up, the phone was like really hot. I'm like, why is this phone so hot? But the phone was completely not working. So I kept trying. All you can see is the Apple symbol. And I'm like, okay, maybe because this has happened, the phone, you can recharge it, you can turn it off and restart. The phone did not, the whole day, the phone did not want to work. So I took the phone to my provider. So finally, I had to get another phone because the phone still would have to be sent away. And they looked at the phone and said, I don't know, we've tried everything to reboot it. It's not working. You have to take it to Apple Care so they can figure out how to fix this phone. My phone is still not working. So I knew I had to get another phone altogether because I said, oh my God, my family. And I was actually like an hour late to work because I said, oh no, my family are going crazy because it's unlike me not to talk to them on a daily basis. And I have not spoken to them all day. So I got the phone for that. But just to tell you, this is the first time I've been in an assignment where as soon as I got somewhere, I didn't take a picture of my address, the hospital that I'm at, and a phone number for my family. This is the first time ever, and it happened because it happened so fast.
Mm-hmm.
And when this happened, I forgot to even give that to my family. And look, if something had happened to me, they would have looked like, how can this girl be all over this side of the country and none of her family members know where she's at? But you know what I mean?
Weird.
Mm-hmm.
Because I'm like, I called your sister and she's like, wait a minute. We don't even know what number to call your recruiter, for your recruiter to say, okay, she's there and there. And that's the important lesson that we're trying to tell you guys. It's like, when you're going on these assignments, make sure your family know every single detail, because that was a lesson learned. That will never happen again.
Yes, that it was extreme. I'm like, oh, this is how people get in trouble and their family member don't know anything about them because it was a mishap on my part where it could have been, if something had happened to me, they would have had no idea. And you know how big the state is where I was because I didn't even tell them and I'm with a different company that I've never worked for before. So you can imagine, like, and it's true, every assignment, like a clockwork, I get into my hotel, I take a picture of the phone with the address and phone number, and I send it to, we have a family, and it's important, have a family group chat. And I always put that in even my plane ticket. Like, if I'm like, okay, if something happened, God forbid, then they'll know what plane it was that I was in. Even my ticket, even when I have more than one flight, I will take a picture of the first leg and the second leg, so they know my seat number. Then I always do that, and religiously. And for some reason this time, you know what happened was because I was really running late this time. Like, I almost missed my flight, which is not abnormal, but I was running like, oh, and then I didn't even send any of that information to my family. So it's very important that you provide your family with your contact information with the agency, especially your recruiter. Your recruiter, they should know who your recruiter is, have their phone number, what hospital you're working for, what unit you're gonna be on, and where you're staying. As soon as you get to your location, share that with your family. It's so important. Share that information with your family. The house, who's the like it's the Airbnb, who's the host, and if you have a roommate, who are the roommates, So very, very important because we just lived it like what, 3 days ago, 4 days ago.
Actually, it was couple for not return. I said, Addie have her phone off. I said, that's unheard of.
Unheard of. No social media for a whole day, unheard of. Yeah. So
anyway, like, okay, so but when you sign up with an agency and they send you that contract, can you all, I mean, you can negotiate salary, right? Whatever they say, you
Mm-hmm.
can negotiate your salary. You have room for negotiation there.
Yes, you do, but you just have to make sure because they can't go to, to the extreme,
Mm-hmm.
but you can ask for more. Like, for example, I asked for traveling expenses. Like, can you cover this? Can you cover that? What are you offering? Or I'll say this other agency's offering me this. Why are you not offering that? You know what I mean? So
Mm-hmm.
you have to kind of know what you're talking about to get the most out of them.
And I
Like it.
like getting a regular job, because you have to ask them about if there's any bonus attached from the hospital itself. Because if you don't,
Mhm.
sometimes you don't ask, they don't tell you, and they don't pay you that.
Mm-mm.
Okay, so it's
and
better.
and make sure if there's any, for example, any modules that you're doing, any education, I make sure I get paid for those too, because
Okay,
you're not having me at home for a whole day, 8 hours doing modules every couple assignment. I'm not getting paid for it. I need money for that because that's my time is worth money.
okay. So what would you say the biggest drawback now, since we went back down? Because after, because I know that you've been traveling even before COVID. So would you say that the rate of pay is better after COVID or not? Did it
um
the original, or it went even lower than when you were traveling before COVID?
I think what I'm seeing, for example, it's going to like what it was before.
Okay.
But the thing is, I think that we as healthcare workers, and it's we are predominantly women that works as nurses, and I keep saying this: if we don't advocate for ourselves, we are gonna still be in the situation that we are back into right now. We
Mm-hmm.
know they have the money; they have the money to pay us what we are worth. We can talk about, because the thing is, we can always talk about different experiences. If you want to travel, if you're, not sure where to start, we could be a resource for you.
Yes.
I don't know everything. I can only speak from my perspective, whatever experience. And to me, I think in my career, started traveling was one of the best decision I've ever made in my career, because not only did it, you know, I feel like I said, you're getting better compensated. You're getting to travel the country, and it makes you a better person overall, honestly, because it opens your eyes to things. You have to know how to navigate housing, traveling. You have to navigate how to deal with different people, living with different people that you never live with, so I think if you're deciding right now, and for example, if you have a family and you're like, okay, I'm not sure about if I want to leave my family. I'm not sure, my husband is not gonna travel with me, um, or what have you. Go in the summer. Take a quick 4 weeks assignment, in the summer while the kids are at home,
Mm.
and see if it's something that you can actually do.
Or maybe start with a local assignments and see if you
True.
changes. And if you do
Mm-hmm.
well at local assignments, that means that you probably will do well doing cross country assignments.
This way, if you really want to do something, you're gonna figure it out how to do it.
True, and that
Um,
and that's one of the flexibility in nursing that I talk about. Like, even though I am not on an assignment and I just do a regular staff position, been at the company for what, 5 years now, and I don't think about traveling. But nursing is still, I think, flexible. It gives you the flexibility to be in different departments or do travel versus not. And that's what I preach to these students daily. So let's wrap this up, Addie. So we'll wrap it up in travel nursing. So guys, I know, I want to leave off by saying again, I can't say enough thank you, right, Addie? For some,
yes,
it's growing, and we want it to continue to grow. And so guys, if you have a question regarding anything that we discussed tonight, please just put it in the comments below and we will definitely respond back, we're trying to do it in a timely manner, but we just didn't know that this was going to be so overwhelming. And so that's why it's taken us a little bit of time, a little bit more time to respond. But we promise that we'll get back to each and every one of you, especially if you have a question. We also are going to provide a email for people who do want to reach out to us and have some serious questions, and so we can get back to you and and talk to you about, and hopefully we can help, right, Addie? And that's
Right.
going to be into the mentorship program that I mentioned in my last podcast. This
Mm-hmm.
program that Addie and I are going to be starting, and that's what it's going to be about. We're going to be sharing first the email, and so if you're serious, then we're going to be sharing our number with you, and so we can talk, and give you some guidance and give you some mentorship through this nursing program, right? Whether it's travel, because I do have experience as a travel, or whether a staff position, and that's I have experience as a staff nurse, and then we can talk about it and see what levels that you want to be on and what future, where what trajectory you want to go in nursing. Okay, Addie, you want to close us off?
Right. Even if you're young, you're in high school right now, and you're contemplating nursing or healthcare, get in touch with us. Like, I feel like if the sooner you start, the better.
Mm-hmm.
If you don't have anybody in your immediate family or friends that can guide you through this process, we can be a resource for you.
Mm-hmm.
And there's a lot of high schools that have the LPN program, they have the CNA program that you can actually get your certificate and your diploma
Mm-hmm.
before you even graduate high school. It depends. You probably just have to do a little research. It's in your area, and
Mm-hmm.
if you need guidance and help with that, we can help you with navigating through that. If you're young, if you're a single mom, and you're not sure where to start, if you're somebody that's like, I can't do this, I'm not smart enough, I don't have the education, we can help you, motivate you, guide you to get your GED, whatever it is. I feel like we need to support each other, we need to guide each other,
Mm-hmm.
to because it's a great field. Like, honestly, you can change your whole life if you get
Mm-hmm.
into healthcare. Sometimes you just need some guidance,
Yes.
and I want to thank everybody for going through our journey with us.
Okay. And guys, the mentorship program, just to not just jump on the mentorship program that Addie and I are going to be starting. It's not up and running yet. It's going to take us probably another month or so. But what we're going to be doing is we're going to leave our the email, right, Addie, in the
Hmm.
description below. And these are for serious people who have serious questions and do want to grow in nursing. We're going to leave the email in this the description below. So just please, just email us and with a couple of questions, and we'll definitely get back to you. Okay.